Hello, all you wonderful people. Welcome back to the Art of Thomas podcast video show, where I talk about the articles I'm writing for the artofthomas.wordpress.com. Thomas, remember it's spelled Tomas, no H, because my name comes from, Argentina. That's where I was born, and it's actually pronounced Tomas. Anyway, theartofthomas.wordpress.com, you can find everything that I'm doing, and you can also join Substack if you want to get the stuff straight to your email. So that would be artofthomas.substack.com. Anyway, moving on. Today's article, it's something different. I call it the Making Sense Project. So in my articles so far, I've been trying to pinpoint where I think society is going, because I believe we're in a transition period, and I do believe that being able to understand the trends and where we are going is gonna be very helpful. And the people who can do this successfully will transition in a smoother way and will actually benefit a lot. And I am slightly afraid of what's going to happen with the people that don't. I am quite scared that we're going to end up in some sort of two-tier system between the people that found a way and the people that didn't. And I don't know if we're going to end up to the point where all those who couldn't adapt to the new technologies and to the new environment, I don't know if they're going to end up trapped in the metaverse or something like that, because if they don't find a way and their quality of lives deteriorate, and suddenly they're presented with this escape, I wouldn't be surprised if many people just decided to basically check out of reality itself. I don't know. Certainly something that we need to keep an eye out on. And that is why I'm creating this content, because I want to try to help people understand where things are going. And, if anything that I'm saying, because, I talk a lot about crypto and Bitcoin, and I know that a lot of people have trouble understanding and using this technology. So, if you ever have any problems and you want to speak to me directly and ask me questions, my email is artofthomas, remember, Thomas with no H, at pm.me. So PM me. You can always find me there. I say this because yesterday I spent like 5 hours explaining to one of my friends how to use Bitcoin layer 2. And it was good to me to realize how difficult it is for newcomers to understand this technology. I've been studying it for a number of years now. So to me, it's all quite easy. And sometimes when I make my videos, I don't understand the viewpoint of someone starting out, and just how difficult and foreign and alien this world seems. So anyway, if you ever want to get in touch with me directly, do so, and I will help in any way I can, because the only reason I'm doing this is to hopefully help people. So that's why I created the Making Sense project, because one of the problems that I'm seeing in the world right now, especially with how divisive the social landscape has become in the last few years, and how social media is not helping and it's not bridging the communities, but it's rather keeping them apart and radicalizing them to an extent that I've never seen before in my life. I think one of our greatest problems right now as a global society is to make sense of the world around us. And there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of people that are not incentivized to guide us through this very treacherous period. So I wanted to create a place where I can share all the stuff that is helping me understand the world, and I can put it in one place so that hopefully it can help others. So a lot of this is not, well, like most of it, all of it is not stuff that, it's not articles that I'm writing, but the sources that I'm using to write my articles and to understand the world better, because social media is doing really bad things when it comes to censorship and misinformation, but it's also allowing really good, interesting, thoughtful people to get their opinions out there and help people understand what's happening in the world. So I want to share that stuff and put it somewhere where people can find it, and hopefully it will help them understand. Because if you don't understand where you are, if you don't know how you got there, and you don't know where things are going, how are you supposed to make the right choices? It would be like, if you took the right path, it would be luck, and most people would not be so lucky. So this is incredibly important for me, and I will continue to update this section of my website as I continue to find good sources. So, well, first I wrote a little article, explaining what this whole thing is about. And then at the end of the article, you have a link that takes you to the Making Sense section, but also in every single page of my website, if you go to the top, underneath the title of my website, The Art of Thomas, you're gonna find a little thing that you can click that says Making Sense. So if you click there, it will take you to the Making Sense. Oh boy, Freudian slip. Making Sense section. It's a bit of a tongue twister, I guess. Anyway, the things that I have provided so far, because I just started it today, so I just put the first things that I could think of, are, first of all, The Sovereign Individual. It's a book written in 1997, but I know it's been written over 20 years ago, but trust me, this is one of the main things that I recommend anyone to go and read. The authors did such an amazing job at reading the trends of what was happening, projecting them into the future, so describing where things were going, and making predictions based on those observations. And they have been so amazingly accurate that it is very scary. Anyway, I cannot recommend it enough. In almost every single video I do, I recommend it, and please go and read it. I know, like, you're supposed to buy the books. I found a link online that with the PDF. If you can't afford it, at least go and read it. It's really, really important. Hopefully, if you like it, you'll buy it to support the authors. But it is so important that I wouldn't recommend, downloading something from the internet. You're not supposed to. But in this case, it's so important that, man, if you don't have the money to buy it, or you can't find it secondhand, just go click the link and read it. I found a really good interview, not with the author, but with someone that I follow as well, called Robert Breedlove, and he talks a lot about with of the topics from the book, and he is very good at explaining them. So you can check that out at the very least. If you can't find the time to sit down and read, the podcast, you can just put in your headphones and you can go for a run. You can do whatever. It's really, really good. Then my second recommendation is The Social Dilemma. It's a documentary. It's Netflix, and I believe in a couple more streaming platforms. It is extremely popular. And if you haven't seen it, I really recommend you do. It goes very in depth into all the problems with social media. All the people that are in the documentary, they are people who worked for the biggest social medias, for Facebook, Google, probably, I don't know if Twitter, I can't remember right now, but I know that from Facebook and Google, there's a bunch of them. And they go very much in depth into what's happening behind the social media algorithms and the threat they are creating for all of us. I also recommend the author of The Social Dilemma is called Tristan Harris. And he has done 2 really, really amazing podcasts with Joe Rogan. Really, really good, that you should definitely go and watch. Joe's show is now available on Spotify, so I couldn't find a YouTube link, unfortunately. But I did find a link for a small clip from his second podcast. I just finished listening to it now, and it's honestly, it's a must watch. Like, they present the problem in such a clear way. And the scary thing is they don't offer any solutions yet, but they have some sort of thing that basically their solution is, hey, we all need to think together of a solution. So it's an invitation of people to take this more seriously and put mental power onto finding ways around this. But it is really, really good how they explain the problem, the landscape, and just how difficult it is to maneuver through this terrain. Anyway, I recommend after that the book 1984. It is a classic. It has been one of my favorite books since I first read it when I was 20 years old. There's also a movie. The movie, it's an old movie, so it's slow, but it's very, very faithful to the book. So you can either read the book or watch the movie. You're gonna get pretty much the general sense. Of course, the book goes into more detail, so it's better. But if you don't have the time, just watch the movie. It's really, really interesting because George Orwell, the author, he was also someone who was very good at reading trends and projecting them into the future. So the book is not like, sorry, it's a novel, it's fiction, but the author was trying to tell us, hey, it's not just a cool story, it's a warning. This is how bad things can get if we let them. Now, I couldn't find links for the book, but I found a really good 2-minute clip of one of Orwell's final interviews, in which he pretty much is telling us, hey, I didn't write this as fiction. This is a warning. This is where things are going. And there are people that are working to make this happen. And at the end, he finished just by saying, the answer is simple. Don't let it happen. And I think, like, okay, I rewatched the movie very recently, a couple days ago, and I got chills down my spine because I first read the book when I was 20 years old. It became my favorite book. It is not a fun read. It's a very important one, though. And watching the movie 10 years after reading the book for the first time, it saddened me deeply that the world today is closer to Orwell's warning that it was when I first read the book 10 years ago. So we're not moving in the right direction. And that left me quite sad when I've ended watching the movie. Especially with all the stuff done through the pandemic, we have gone closer. We're not all the way there. We're not close yet, but we're closer, and we're not supposed to be closer. So anyway, I think reading this book is very good to understand because it paints a extremely clear picture of why we should be very careful and very adamant in not moving in that direction. And I agree with Orwell. There are people it seems that they're seeking to lead us there, unfortunately. Anyway, the next thing is something that I talked in another one of my videos. It's Lawrence Leopard in the talking with Peter McCormack in the show What Bitcoin Did. I think this talk in particular, honestly, anything Lawrence Leopard, all his podcasts are incredible. So you should watch as many as you can. But this one in particular, the What Bitcoin Did show with him, was really, really, really good to understand the economic situation we're facing. Because it seems like we are close to a very large economical crisis. When you look at the fact that the countries are all in debt, inflation is going out of control. So yeah, more good news, I guess. But anyway, it's good to understand where we stand and how fragile the system is becoming. So in terms of economics, I recommend this one. Lawrence Leopard in the show What Bitcoin Did. It's titled Fix the Money, Fix the World. And of course, it talks a lot about Bitcoin. And then at last, I wanted to put this 2019 Joe Rogan show, where we have the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, and a lawyer from Twitter in a conversation with Joe Rogan and Tim Pool. For me, this particular show was an eye-opener because I always knew there were certain issues with social media censorship. I believe a lot of people did back then, but most of us were not aware of how deep the problem really is. So I think this particular episode, which luckily I found the full show in YouTube, because this was before Joe did the switch to only Spotify. So you can actually watch it, all of it. And I recommend you do, to understand how deep the problem really goes. Unfortunately, I would have to add that this show was in 2019. We are now in 2021. And in these 2 years, the problem has not gotten any better. In fact, it is worse than ever. So I'm sorry to be a little bit of a downer in that respect, but again, we need to understand where we stand if we want to move forward in a good way, and we don't want to fall in any pits. And I am slightly concerned that the people are not paying attention. I don't see how they will get through this. I don't know how. I'm trying to get people interested in all this stuff. That's all I can do. And someone's came. I have to go, but I'll keep updating it as I go.